You're listening to the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by Referral Mortgages and Blue Panda Realty, with your hosts, Paul Stevenson, David Warren, and Greg Campbell. Let's see what's going on in the world of real estate in our nation's capital.
Hello. Welcome to the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast. We are back. Happy Love Day. Belated Love Day. Happy Valentine's Day. My name is Paul Stevenson. I'm here with Greg Campbell. I'm here with David Warren. I am one of the owners and a mortgage agent at Referral Mortgages. Greg Campbell is a partner and a realtor at Blue Panda Realty. And David Warren is also an owner and a mortgage agent at Referral Mortgages. The Ottawa Market is out of control. The world is out of control. We are out of control, but we're ready. We're here.
Ready to go.
Quick shout out to North Brew, coffee sponsor. Go to northbrew.ca, use the promo code podcast. You can get 20% off all of your coffee orders. And 20% of your order also goes towards the homeless communities in Ottawa. Great cause, great coffee. Great morning. Gentlemen,
Correct.
How are we doing? How are we doing today?
Great. I'm doing great. I actually, I watched the Super Bowl for the first time in however long. I don't watch sports frequently, and my wife never does. And she was like, I was like, you know what? I'm like, let's watch the Super Bowl tonight. I'm like, the halftime show is going to be good. I go, it looks like it's going to be a good game. And she's like, I'm in. So we watched it. The kids watched it with us. It was just this hilarious thing that we never do at home. And it was super fun.
Your kids must have been confused by sports. Like, well, what is this, Dad?
Yeah, like they've never watched football. They've never seen it, but it was really interesting because Alexa actually was like laying down and watched. Like she watched it. You know, I was just looking at her like, no comments, no questions. She was just watching the game. I was like, this is amazing. You know,
it's great.
It's cool.
It was a good game.
Yeah,
it was a good game. It was a great game, right? Like the whole thing throughout. Both teams played exceptionally well. I thought it was a very entertaining game, and also one which was nice to see two different quarterbacks that haven't been in the Super Bowl before, and not Peyton Manning, not Brady, not Mahomes.
That's a good point.
Which it is every year. So it's nice to actually see two teams and both deserving.
Two youngest coaches in the league too, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Which is pretty neat.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I think 30 and 32 or something crazy.
36. McVay's 36. Yeah.
Wow.
Wild. Yeah. Crazy. No. And I'm not surprised that you were watching it, Greg, based on the halftime show. I figured that you'd probably be.
The halftime show was crazy, man.
Tuned in.
Yeah. It was crazy.
They knew who their target market was. Hey? It's like, okay, we need adults between 35 and 45. What can we do?
The coolest thing is that, you know, it was a tribute to Dre. Like Dre produced all of that. And Dre basically, you know, he discovered Eminem. He discovered 50 Cent with Eminem. Like, I mean, the whole thing was just incredible. You know, when I started thinking about it, and then the Kendrick Lamar was like, and the song selections were just perfect. You know, Mary J was killing it.
Yeah.
So, it was good. Yeah, I really liked it.
In LA as well.
In LA, Dre Day, all day.
Yeah. Little Tupac. I was looking for the hologram, but
yeah, I know. I think everybody was. As soon as the beat kicked in, it was like, no way. Is there going to be a Tupac hologram? What's up?
That technology's fading quick. That was the Coachella rocket for three hours, and then we never heard of the holograms again. Yeah, that's the metaverse.
In the metaverse.
Now you can just sit and have coffee with Tupac if you want. You don't even have to see his hologram.
One thing I did talk about with Anna, though, we said, you know what? I go, it would be fun to have like every 2 weeks on Sunday, have a co-ed football game. You know, get a couple teams together just every second Sunday. You know, you'd be down with that, eh, Paul?
100%.
Little touch action.
Yeah.
Little touch every other Sunday.
Little touch on V-Day.
So stats yesterday. Stats yesterday in the football game were awesome. Stats in Ottawa not so awesome. Greg, what are we looking at? How's Ottawa looking?
I got some comments here. So, you know, let's just break it down like this. So Ottawa active, we're still in the same realm. We got 1,556 listings, 141 conditionally sold, 402 sold. That's in the last week. Active residential 747, condos 181, and rentals 678. So we're still, you know, I look at new listings coming out every day. And to me, it as I look at it, I was like, oh, there's more coming out. And then I run the numbers and it's the same basically. The prices are escalating. It's very frustrating for buyers. But there's still solutions. I will say that after losing, I think 5 offers with one of my clients, we found a condo, preemptive offer. We got it, and we got a condition to review the status certificate just yesterday. It was amazing. So we couldn't believe it. After you're running around thinking like it's going to sell for like how much more. Anyways, we got it, and we paid just a little bit over list, but we got it. In Orleans. Now, what I will say is interesting that I've seen after I started doing a little bit of a different look at the market. I took a few streets and I looked at the sales from last year at the same time, like January, Feb, and how it looked as the year went on. And every street that I looked at, pretty much January had a high number, February had the highest number, and then March, April, May, June, all the prices slowly reduced, like they went down a bit. Maybe 1 month, like the prices or the last sales on the street or in the area, like maybe there was one that was like super high just out of nowhere because it was, a perfect home. But the numbers after February on the 3 areas that I looked at, the numbers slowly kind of dropped slightly. February was by far the biggest month last year, which is what we're seeing right now. So like this month has been unprecedented again. It's the same thing. So for everybody that's frustrated and having a hard time, I believe that you are buying right now at what will be the peak of the market in Ottawa for the year. I think after March, it's not guaranteed, but this is what I'm seeing. And if I look at it and if it's going to repeat itself, then, we'll be better off as more listings will come out for sure. The prices will stabilize a bit. I'm not saying you're going to get a big drop.
Now, are you seeing, Greg, I remember on the show last year at this time, we were looking at 2020 numbers and we were saying January 2021, the numbers were 100,000 more. Like it was just like I remember us talking about it was like a full jump. Are you seeing right now the numbers being again like a full 100,000 more than last year's numbers, like replicating the exact same trend?
Yeah. I don't have the exact number for that. I should have run that, but it's similar. Yeah.
And historically, January isn't exactly a booming month, right? This is only during COVID that 2020 2021 was crazy, and this year again is kind of replicating that. But prior to that, January was never really a busy month. I know we had a few busy Novembers, Decembers, which was surprising, and then January was always kind of the lull until March, April. And now it's completely shifted. It's like new year, new me, new house. I'm buying. I don't care. I'm paying whatever it takes. And then, like you said, as the spring kind of kicks in, people see the high prices. Like, well, maybe we should sell. And then there's a flood of homes to the market.
That's right.
Maybe in the springtime, then the prices balance out, and then everything kind of takes shape for the rest of the year.
It's true. Like in a traditional market, it'll start. It'll slowly start like mid-February usually, and then it escalates, July, August kind of chill a bit. After school's back in, it ramps up, and then December it chills out again. That's like a standard kind of year in real estate as it used to be. The other thing, before I forget, is that I did notice when I was looking at those numbers is that they escalated in February, they dropped a bit, and then the uptick. The slowest months were August, September, and then the uptick was in October, November, beginning of December. And that's what we saw last year. So if that happens again, people can, you can try to plan around buying a house with that, but I don't know if it'll be exactly the same, but I think it's a pretty safe bet.
The, even like I'm still in Florida right now, and the market here is absolutely insane as well. There's nothing on the market. Everything is going, like multiple offers, not staying on. It's pretty wild. The different areas are having this, not just, and fully different country, having the same sort of issues that we're having back at home. Like the area where I'm in, typically prices in the last 2 years have gone up about 40%.
Wild. 40%.
Yeah.
One thing I think also that isn't being taken into consideration is if you look at the last 2 years and you just look at wealth in general, like we've talked about, we talked about NFTs last week, and I know, Greg, you have an update on kind of that crypto sale and so on, but there's certainly a shift I've seen recently of people taking the money that they have and not feeling as comfortable. Like, we've seen the markets crashing because a lot of businesses have had, tough couple years, right? So people are shifting their money out of the traditional markets and investing in it elsewhere. And I think a lot of people are potentially investing that in real estate, because when you're analyzing a potential investment, you're looking at what's my risk and what's my return. And the risk in the real estate market is really, at least in Ottawa, very small, right? The risk of the market dropping and you losing, say, 40% is very small. Whereas recently, if you've been investing in, say, Air Canada or any blue chip in quotes in the stock market, even Apple, Tesla, like, we've seen all these stocks take a hit recently because of the fact that the markets and COVID and all these restrictions and so on are really impacting the actual market itself. So I think investing in real estate is just also a way that people are potentially taking their money out of typical traditional investments and placing them into the market, which is also driving prices up, because people are seeing this, as you've mentioned, Dave, as a way to diversify their actual investment portfolio. So, we saw last year 1 in 5 people were buying homes as investment. I have to imagine that's probably up from, 2019 or 2020. And, I think that's part of the problem that isn't really being talked about. And I don't know if it's necessarily a massive impact, but I think there are a lot of people that are shifting their investment money into real estate as opposed to keeping it in the traditional market. Do you guys agree with that? Disagree with that? What are your?
I do. I think I do agree with that. I think it's also an interesting shift. Like, you're not seeing younger generation investing in the traditional equities market. They're moving into crypto. Like, they've never traded before. They've never bought equities before, but crypto is new and they're interested in that. So they're moving into that. And housing is something where you need a roof over your head. So they're looking at that as opposed to the traditional equities market where they might dump it into there. And there's this distrust of Wall Street. Whereas crypto is kind of seen as that kind of outside, and then housing, is just another asset class where it's a necessity. I think it is. I think it's a very interesting point. There's a lot of dynamics, and it's as to why the housing prices have gone up in certain markets, but it is really interesting. There's a lot of contributing factors, and you would think again that it would be the other way. I mean, inflation is at outrageous highs, like everywhere. 7%, 7.5%. Like, that's ridiculous. So costs of living are that much higher, yet people are still finding ways in buying. So, I'm curious to see what comes of some of the changes. I know provincially that they launched like a group, the Affordable Housing Committee, or whatever the heck it was called. I'm interested to see if actually anything comes of that, or whether it's just, the typical lip service. But yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know what this year is going to hold, and I don't know where, I think, like Greg said, the market's just going to, in Ottawa, definitely continue to just soar.
It's going to go. Like, I don't think it's going to escalate much more than it is right now, though. Like I said, especially, with the prediction of the 6.8% increase by RBC, I think that's pretty realistic. But I think we're at the peak right now. I don't think the numbers are going to go much higher than this. I think everybody's kind of like putting the brakes on it too. Like, I'm seeing list prices kind of stay steady. So it's not like the realtors are trying to push the prices up. And I've talked to a lot of agents who are surprised at what the prices that they're getting for the properties they're listing. Sellers are surprised. I had a call with 2 agents yesterday. I'm like, look, what are you guys expecting? Like, are you looking for this? I'm like, because we can't even, they're like, no, not at all. We're not thinking that. We know that it's outrageous what's going on right now, so we can kind of, I think everybody can kind of take a breather and just, either sit and watch or just keep moving, because it's not gonna, you're not too far out of reach. I had a call from a listener yesterday on the show. He had some buyer's remorse. He felt that he paid too much for a property. So he called me and he was like, Greg, I'm hoping you can help me. I feel I can't sleep, basically. He's like,
where did he buy
this house? And he bought in Orleans. and it's a great house. And he said, he's like, what do you think it was worth? I go, what I think it's worth is X. I go, but what you paid for it is what you needed to pay to get the house. There's no question. And then I gave him a couple other examples that kind of helped him feel a little bit better about the decision, like similar properties that sold for the same or more, maybe one for a little bit less. And I just said to him, I'm like, look, you needed to buy, you're moving in, you're having a baby, you need a place to live. And that's what you did. I'm like, don't think you're going to sell this in 6 months and get that money back, but I'm like, just stay there. No,
but if he hadn't bought and he kept paying, $2,000-$3,000 a month in rent. Sure. I mean, in a year, he's paying an extra $30,000, it's like,
there's so many ways to look at it. And that's, I just try kind of, I think I helped them through it a bit, but, it was just funny to get that call. Like, right? I have buyer's remorse. Can you help me?
You're a therapist.
Yeah, it was great. He was a really good guy. It was a great conversation.
We're here for you, listeners. If you, if you need that moral support, we can.
Yeah.
No, it's. I think I would agree that I think things will balance out in the next month or two. I would say, like you said, I mean, the whole market is driven, as we've said many times, by just like complete supply and demand, right? And I don't think necessarily the demand is going to slow, but I do think more people are going to be listing their homes in the next month, which will certainly balance out prices and hopefully make it a little less competitive for buyers, so that they can actually, buy a house and not just be shopping for one. Which it seems like I know, Greg, you were saying to me this week, a lot of your current people that are pre-approved are kind of priced out now of the market, which is very demoralizing and frustrating.
It is like, we're still looking, but they're just kind of like, they're on hold because they're frustrated. And I just told them, like, based on, what we were talking about earlier, I just said, just hold up. I'm like, we'll keep looking. If something looks great, we can offer. If we lose, we lose. There's going to be more soon, but you just got to keep moving along.
I was reading an article this morning about the pandemic exodus of Canadian families from cities and how it could fuel wage inflation. So they were just talking about the number of young families that have left kind of the Toronto and Montreal and Ottawa cores because of the cost. And what was the term they used? Drive until you buy, or drive until you can buy, or something like that. And basically just driving outside the city till you hit a price point that you can afford, and then buying that. But they were just talking about that, the prevalence of that in major cities of, families kind of in their 30s and 40s that are trying to get into that first home are having to kind of get outside the city, and just saying it has been that mass exodus, and that might potentially, for a lot of the jobs and core sectors that they were working in, some sectors are going to be hit fairly hard from that because of all these people kind of heading outside of the big city. But typically when that happens, those holes just get filled by other people. So we'll see, especially in major cities.
We have such a big migration number of individuals coming to Ottawa from migration from all over Canada, and then also immigration. So I think any of those people that are leaving, those, like you said, those holes will get filled pretty quickly. So
that was a Globe and Mail article. So I'll make sure that Stephen puts that in the show notes, just so if anyone wants to read it, they can touch on that. Greg, Dave, you want to?
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Greg, you had an update for us on the Propy, the US based NFT sale.
Interesting. So the company's very cool. So it's that house sold as an NFT for $654,000. Now, remember, I was saying it could have been like something outlandish because it was just, the first of the kind in Florida. Sold for average price, or 654,000 or 210 ETH, 210 Ethereum. So that's what they bought it with, which is very interesting. Now, the coolest thing about this is this company is actually a one-stop shop where every element of the transaction is held and visible to all parties involved. So the lender, the realtor, the lawyer, anyone working within the transaction, everyone communicates within this platform. So it's completely transparent. Like it just makes it seamless, obviously, right? So I think in terms of what this is, it's huge, and this would be a huge asset to be working in Canada. You can automate all sorts of parts of the transaction, e-signature to payments, all in one easy to use solution. So that's what Propy is. So the other thing that's cool, Propy or Pro, PRO, is also, it's an Ethereum-based native token, Pro, that powers Propy, that powers the platform. There's currently 10,622 holders of the Pro token. The token has increased by 4,009% in the last year. Now, after I read this yesterday, I traded $200 worth of ETH for Propy, and I'm up 1%. I had to do it, man. I was like, this is cool. Went online, went on my Coinbase, went on the Coinbase site, traded, got some Pro. So now I'm in the Pro ecosystem here.
These are real life applications of NFTs or of tokens where, a lot of crypto, there hasn't been there's been kind of this, people are trading it, but there's no real, people and companies are still trying to figure out what the actual utilization of a lot of these tokens are.
I know.
And so this actually has an application.
And again, I am not a wizard of this. I do not know the exact specifics of that. But I'm going to dig deeper into this because I took some time yesterday and went through it. And then as I was reading, I'm like, I got to go deeper and figure out this application. So it's kind of my little project right now. But the other cool thing is that Propy offers I signed up for this yesterday, crypto certification training program for real estate agents. So after I complete this program, I will be a crypto certified agent, according to Propy. What does it say? Learn everything you need to know about crypto, blockchain, digital wallets, and tokenization. Get smart about what is happening in real estate today and be prepared for the wave that is upon us.
Wow.
Start.
I think that's the biggest
course.
So for everyone listening, so Ethereum right now is Canadian about $3,800. So, 200 Ethereum is a, good chunk of change, right in that 600 range you're saying, Greg. But I think one of the biggest things that has kind of been coming from this space is the idea of smart contracts. So basically having a contract between two people that is completely decentralized. So doesn't require any sort of lawyer or anything like that. It's basically an agreement between, let's say, Greg and I, that nobody can edit. So basically, once we agree to it, there's no modifying it, whether it be, rent being paid or whether it be, there's a lot of kind of applications that I have heard of being used in real estate with smart contracts. And I feel like this kind of fits into that realm of contracts that are basically agreed to and can no longer, can't be basically fudged after we agree to it.
That's right.
So there's no modifying it. There's no, I don't, I'm changing this, or inflation's gone up, I want to do that. So it's kind of these binding contracts that nobody's able to edit that are kind of ironclad. Now, you can argue whether that's good or bad, but I see that being one of the main applications in the future for crypto is kind of that smart contract play, right? Is having those agreements between people that can't be, what's the word I'm looking for? Interpreted incorrectly.
No, thank you for saying all of that, Paul, because that's exactly right. And that's what they're doing here. And the coolest thing about this as well is that they're offering, you can do the deal, you can pay by either crypto, wire transfer, or it's done as an NFT. So that's the other thing. I want to know the specifics of all of those. I want to get deep in this company. I'd actually like to have this person as a guest, to talk about it, because it's pretty wild. This person, whoever started the company, I guess.
Let's get the founder of Propy on.
I think
get them to break it down.
I'm do the research. Probably have to reach them on Twitter.
Mr. Propy, Greg Campbell.
Yeah.
And then once you get your certified agent tab, we'll just have to put it literally right in the corner of your video. Just certified crypto agent.
Oh yeah.
On every co-rep episode.
I feel like that's a good conversation starter.
I think it's going to be coming for mortgages too. It's only a matter of time. I know, Dave, you wanted to touch on the down payment side of it, but we've definitely, I think it's only a matter of time before a client comes and says, listen, I got 1,000 Bitcoin and I want to buy this property with it. What do I do? We're maybe a year away from that. If that, it's happening, like you said, Greg, but for it to be adopted and for people to actually have enough money in kind of that space to be able to buy a home.
There is a Toronto-based startup that is doing that. Their mortgages are based on crypto. They're lending crypto and using that for mortgages instead. I forget where I saw it, but they did a big fundraise recently and got a pretty high valuation. I can't remember the company name. I'll find it and post it later. But yeah, I mean, it is certainly coming, and the ways in which people want to buy, and then kind of what I was touching on earlier, the younger generation that isn't investing in the equities market, that it's investing in crypto, and it's so popular that these individuals are going to want to buy, use that to acquire a property. And so how do they go about that? Whether that be like just trading that Ethereum or Bitcoin to buy that property outright cash, or using that for a down payment. And I've come across this recently of a client, their down payment was coming from their crypto. Fortunately, in this case, it was one in which they held their crypto in Wealthsimple, which was we could easily provide proof of ownership of the account. Because, for those listening, the hard thing about crypto is, number one, it's not understood by the banks. It's still not, they know it exists. They're investing in it, but they haven't figured it out as far as how to track it. It's anonymous. Like some of the accounts just have a number to it. There's no, your name isn't on it. So whenever you're providing down payment documents, the banks look for typically a 90-day or a 3-month history of where those funds are coming from, and they need proof of ownership. So number one, they're not doctored. There's nothing edited on them, and they have your name associated with the account number and with that statement. On the crypto side, it's difficult because you have a Coinbase account, like you said, Greg, and I think if you log in, I have one, I haven't been in ages, but I don't think it has any name associated with it. It's just an alphanumeric number. So it's really hard to associate that is Greg Campbell's account. And so it's hard when if somebody's cashing out their crypto from one of these Coinbase accounts or one of these other trading platforms that are anonymous and wanting to use those funds within that 90-day period when the bank's going to look for that proof of down payment, it becomes really challenging to source that. And really up until now, crypto's been kind of viewed as if it's, being used for nefarious, things, drugs and guns and all that. It's kind of ironic because so is cash. Over the history has been used for all those things too. But the big thing is really is that ownership of the account, because they need to know that it's coming from your savings, or if it's being gifted from immediate family, there needs to be that sourcing so that it's not coming from illicit activities. So if you are planning on using, if you're a home buyer, you are trading in crypto, or you have crypto accounts, and it's not with a company like a Wealthsimple. Wealthsimple is easy, I will say, because it's just like any other equities platform. It's got your name associated and the account number, and you have that whole trading history of the account. So that was easy in this case. We were able to provide that, and it was and funds were coming out of being cashed of his Ethereum and traded and cashed out into his TD account. If you are using a Coinbase or using one of these other platforms that are anonymous, you'll want to think of that ahead of time, and you'll want to cash out of that position prior to the 90 days before you're closing.
So Coinbase does, I'm on my account right now, it does show the transaction report. So it shows like Coinbase transaction report for Paul Stevenson. It shows the date range, and it has all of the transactions like buy, sell, deposit, etc. So it is all here. It's just a matter of, as you said, like, it's not like a TD account where it just shows the summary or the balance. So it would have to be, you'd have to dig a bit deeper, I think, to get what you need. I think it is possible, but
yeah, it becomes like, Paul, every down payment is the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Just to from a documentation standpoint, supporting documents in the mortgage transaction, proof of down payment is the most challenging because, people don't really think about it, but they move money between their checking and savings and TFSA and RSP, and they move it between banks all the time, e-transferring it to themselves. And it becomes a pain to track. It makes sense to them. They're doing it maybe to make an extra point of interest on one account, and then move it over, and it's in one account for 5 days, and then over to another, and then over to another. And we literally have to follow that bouncing ball, like for proof of down payment. So we need 90-day history of all of those accounts. And if there was a large deposit 90 days ago, then we need, or 89 days ago, then we're going to need 90-day history of that large deposit. So now we're going back 180 days. And we have to continue following that bouncing ball until there's not these large transaction or deposits. So on the crypto side, it's just being mindful of the platform that you're using. Like Paul said, digging through it, a lot of it is anonymous or alphanumeric account numbers. So, if you're using a platform that has that, when you first opened it, finding those those emails or those information that associates your name with that account number even. So will require a lot more digging in order to prove that account. The easiest would be just to move the money from that account prior to that 90-day history meeting and letting it sit. So just to be mindful of that. If you are somebody that's heavily invested in crypto or thinking of using that, even if it's $5,000, that they're going to want that history. So just plan accordingly with that. Again, unless you're using like a known site like a Wealthsimple or something like that.
Yeah, because the Wealthsimple crypto trading account is associated directly with you.
Yeah, like it's got your name, it's got your it's also a Canadian company. It's
exactly.
It's known, it's popular. Like some of these that are XYZ crypto, they're not known to these banks. They're there's a lot of different wallets and all that. And so again, it's like they know that these exist. They're very mindful of it. But anytime anything mentions crypto as well, it's not just the underwriter or the document fulfillment person that's signing off on those bank statements. All of that needs to then get escalated to their risk department. Then there's also an anti-money laundering or AML department that also then has to go through all of those statements and will ask questions and dive. So as soon as there's crypto, it hits not only the risk department, it also hits anti-money laundering department. It hits all these other triggers that they dive deeply into those statements and verifying that it's coming from a reasonable source. So again, to make it a smoother transaction, if you can, and it goes for even if you just have TFSAs and RSPs and money in other accounts, if you can move it all into one account and let it sit there for at least 90 days before you're closing, it'll make life a heck of a lot easier on the documentation standpoint and in that mortgage transaction, regardless whether it's coming from crypto or anything else. It'll make everyone's life a lot easier.
Yeah, that's good info.
Yeah.
All right.
At the end of the day, it's just a person, right? On the other end, looking at that. And if they haven't properly educated themselves, which they probably haven't, most people are still they know the name, but they don't really understand how it works or how the money's moved or anything like that. So, yeah, it's important to understand, like you said, Dave, to kind of go in with your head up, with your eyes up, know what you're looking at. Know what you're looking for.
Your eyes open. Before I forget, I have one other stat for this listener that he was kind of, he's like, why do you guys never talk about Finley Creek? Why do you never talk about Finley Creek?
Mm-hmm.
So
shout out to Finley Creek.
Shout out to Finley Creek. Great. I sold one in Finley Creek in January. Great property. Great builder, Tamarack. So Finley Creek right now, townhomes over the last 3 weeks, average list price, $659K. Average sale price, $797. So that's basically $800K, 40,000 over.
No, to be fair, those are all basically brand new townhomes, right? All fairly new builds, last 3-4 years max. Finley Creek, I actually had a client tell me recently, they're like, I don't know why. They just kind of said the same thing. They're like, Finley Creek is just kind of like the forgotten neighborhood. It's closer to downtown than Canada and Orleans. It's like 15 minutes to downtown. It's a developing neighborhood. They got, all of your needed amenities out there.
And they got good builders out there.
Good builders, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
as you guys were
talking about Finley Creek, I did find the Toronto Bitcoin backed mortgage company, LEDN. LED. They raised $70 million. They're based out of Toronto and they're doing Bitcoin backed mortgages. So they call itself a global digital asset savings and credit platform.
Wow.
So we'll post the article. We'll post the article in the write-up of this episode, so you can kind of read up on it. But yeah, it's a Toronto-based company that, did a huge raise. They, valued it with that raise of 70 million, it valued the company at 540 million. So obviously there's, and expects to have 100 million in mortgage originations by the end of the first quarter in 2022. So in 2022 alone,
get in there, Greg.
They'll lend $100 million worth of Bitcoin-backed mortgages, which is pretty, it's not a small amount. In the mortgage realm of things, it's small, but that is pretty big. And for
I want a referral token. I want a referral token. That's what I want to know. That's my goal.
Mind on the Ethereum. I think we're gonna have to have some of these people on. I want these guys for sure on the show. Mm. This is great. Yeah. People would be interested. Would you be interested, listeners, viewers? Would you be interested in having more information about crypto in real estate on TOREP?
Yes.
If so, let us know. Comment in the section below.
However, something tells me we'll be talking a lot about it anyways.
Yeah, I think so. Mood boosts?
Mood boosts. All right, I got 4 today. 2 of them are good. 2 of them are, we'll see. Every single morning, this is number 1. Every single morning I get hit by the same damn bike. It's a vicious cycle.
Yes.
I think there was a drum roll there. I just can't hear it. Number 2, what did the young butcher's friend say about him at his funeral? He was cut off in his prime.
Oh, these are good, man.
Maybe too soon. Number 3, how do billboards talk? Sign language.
There it is.
And last but not least is my favorite. Have you heard about the prisoner who makes good cocktails? He's behind bars now.
Those are good.
Those were good.
That was a mixed bag. That was a mixed bag. I'm telling you, this calendar is gold. I get these every morning. Just
okay.
A little bit of love. My dad got me a bad dad jokes calendar for Christmas. I might have mentioned that beginning of this year. So I get one a day. I get one a day. Little mood boost in the morning. I store the good ones. Lay them out on Fridays. Well, Mondays.
Yeah, that's right.
What day are we? Friday. I'm so low. What are we? February? Is it 2022? What are we doing here?
February is going to be over soon. It's February. 2 weeks.
V-Day today.
14 days left. Crazy.
Happy Valentine's Day, belated to everyone listening. Happy Valentine's Day to you, gentlemen, and to Stephen Hopkins, our amazing producer. Shout out to Steve. Shout out to North Brew, coffee sponsor. Go to northbrew.ca. Use the promo code podcast. You can get 20% off all of your coffee orders, and bonus 20% of your order actually goes towards the homeless community here in Ottawa. So it's a win-win. And we just want to say thank you to all of our listeners very much. Thank you. We hope that you have subscribed. If you haven't already, hit the button. We love you, and we will see you next week. Spread some love today. It's almost Valentine's Day again. 364 more days. We'll see you next week.
The Ottawa Real Estate Podcast is brought to you by Referral Mortgages, Blue Panda Realty, and Stephen Hopkins Video. Thanks for tuning in, and please remember to like, comment, share, and most importantly, subscribe. We'd love to hear from you.